All right, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on? What's up, Gregory?
Hey,
How are
buddy.
we?
Good. So we have got a short-winded episode with
That's
my
right.
buddy Brent. Now, Brent recently started his channel. He's been in the community for a while, but he just recently started producing some videos, which I'm
Sure.
excited about. There's a few of us that have been trying to get you going for a minute. Now, I do want to show something here real quick.
Oh,
In case you're not super familiar with Brent, you're gonna want to see his video that I'm gonna link in the description below. But just to give you a little taste, check this out.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey guys, it's Adam with Splendid Sports. I finally got me some brighter lighting. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for stopping by the Vintage Sanctuary. Honey, can I come out now? You know what I like to do when I get all the scarce cards in my collection? I like to look at those baseball cards. Yo, it's the Sario from the Barrio. Look at this card. It's all shiny. Hello, friends. I am John, and I am a 3D 80s kid.
Of course you're not.
Now that that is a classic that you put up a few days ago. I gotta say, every time I
Yeah.
see the Darren one, I,
you crack
I,
up.
I laugh out loud at the Darren one every single time. Doesn't get off. They're all great. They're
The
all great.
quickest, easiest one.
Yeah, but it's so true.
It's
He's got the
effective.
angle up. He's got the hands here.
You got to have
I,
the angle in the hands, and you can't speak. So
I can't let him talk. I got to take all the airtime. So that was fantastic. So if you want the full version, that was just a mini clip. You got to watch it all the way to the end. I'll link that down below. So
that
now,
was fun.
yeah. What now? How how do you decide who to include and who not to include? Is it one of those things where like, well, I could think of a really fun one for Pepino Man, so I gotta do that. Like how do you decide what makes the list?
That's a really good question, and it's all of that. I wanted to include my friends, and you can only do people that have something kind of iconic about them. So it's not so recognizable if you just do anything, right? So I had to pull some guys that people would know for the most part if they watch their channel. Of course, not everybody's watched every channel, but if they have, they would pick up on who it is and realize the humor behind it. But it had to
Sure.
be something recognizable to a certain extent.
Well, it's also a fun way to expose some people potentially to a few channels that maybe they weren't.
That's what I was thinking, and I thought about tagging them all, but then I'm like, the whole purpose was to kind of surprise people
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
no one would expect me to do this, right? So
Yeah.
I just started with my own intro and then went into you, shocking everybody, and then it just kind of went on from there and got
At,
zanier.
at first, when you did it of me, I didn't realize it was me immediately. But as soon as I saw the second or third one, I was like, "Oh, that was me."
Then you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then I
I don't
knew.
have Titleist, but I had a white golf cap and a
Yeah.
hoodie and a hoodie.
Yeah. And then you got the lamp in the background and the picture on the wall and everything.
That was the closest. I had to do the best I could with what I had. Not everything's exact, but
Sure. All right. So let me get into a few questions for you, so people can kind of get to know you a little bit. Um, Cuts off a little bit on there on the screen from the little logo up there, but so you've been doing the YouTube thing, and I know on your description, which is there on the screen, Brent Richards and baseball cards.
yeah, I kept it
You
simple, didn't I?
Yeah, very simple. I love baseball cards, and YouTube is just a way to express that, basically.
That's right.
Um, but you don't have to necessarily make videos. So you've been on for a while
Yeah.
as a commenter. You're always in the chats of the live streams and stuff. and you just started making the videos. So like what changed? What got you to take that next step?
It's a good question, and there's multiple things. But yeah, some people think I'm new to YouTube. I've been here more years than most creators, but I haven't been creating myself. Just watching, and then eventually getting heavy into the commenting and making a bunch of friends that way. But people like you, obviously, and Dylan, and people telling me I should do it is certainly part of it. The other part of it is I don't think anybody was doing kind of what I do. So
Hmm.
to me, it was kind of let me fill a niche that may not be there, and also just be able to hang out with my friends. Like I said in my intro video, just have a little bit more of a connection. When it's kind of a two-way street versus just one way, it's a little bit
Yeah.
better. And just being able to do something that I think I would enjoy watching. I can
Hmm.
only be me. I can only do what I do. Um, but the people that will connect with that, and it's been tremendous. I love going back and forth in the comments on my videos for a change. Very strange, but very, very cool.
Hmm.
But those are the main things: friends, and then just kind of filling a niche that may have not been there before.
What is that niche for people who aren't familiar with your channel?
Just having fun. I don't want any drama, you know. And I'm not talking about issues and all that kind of stuff. I'm literally just sharing my collection. I'm literally just talking about baseball cards. Just trying to be happy and have fun with the hobby. And I'm not super vintage heavy. I have some vintage, but it's not as much as most people on YouTube. It seems to be very vintage heavy on YouTube. Not everybody has that. So the people that connect with me more, and then most of my friends are vintage guys. So I mean, it is what it is, but I have a somewhat different audience than I have friends, and the new friends I'm making are guys that collect similar, and a gal. There's a gal that's watching and really enjoying, because not everybody has a lot of money. Not everybody has an interest in only collecting vintage. They want to be able to do different things, kind of like Dylan. I mean,
Yeah.
he does both. And then you got people like Shane, who's probably the most similar to me,
Hmm.
um, even though he has a whole range of things. But people that show stuff, I'm not always just showing pickups and things, but there might be some of that. But I just like teaching. That's the other thing. I mean, not like you, you're a real true teacher, but I'm exposing people to things they've never seen before, and that to me is fun.
Was your family supportive of this decision? And after doing it for a minute, are they still supportive of it?
I think so. I think the wife thinks it's a good outlet for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then my son, and I'll bring him on at some point. Obviously he's a lot of my life, but he's awesome, and he does collect some baseball cards now and stuff. But yeah, I think overall it's definitely supportive, because the way I do it doesn't take up a ton of time.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I believe I have one of his baseball cards, if I'm not
That's true. You
mistaken.
have his rookie card.
I do.
That's
And I believe it's also autographed.
and it's a Yankee.
It is a Yankee. It's in
Yeah.
that binder right there.
He
So I
dressed up
should.
like Babe Ruth for school one day, and I took a picture and made a baseball card out of
It's awesome.
it.
All right. So one of the things when I watched a lot of your videos is you've got a lot of nostalgia stuff. You've got a lot
True.
of stuff from, because
Hmm.
we're similar age. We're
Yep.
mid 40s,
Yep.
and it's a lot of stuff from like when we were growing up, but it's a lot of the kind of it's not like mainstream stuff. It's not like base 91 Fleer or something. It's
Yep.
like some
Yep.
rare stuff that has like a story to it, and some things that people may not have been familiar with, but if you grew up in that era, you'd be interested in it. But then you
Yeah.
also have some modern stuff, and you have some vintage stuff. So like, just as a collector, not necessarily your channel,
Right.
how would you describe your style as a collector?
I think you hit the nail on the head with the nostalgia. That's number one for me. And I'm a baseball historian, number two. Now you get on YouTube and people like Mangini, and there's people that know a lot more. But in my circle, I was always the guy that knew baseball. People asking me trivia questions. So I've always loved that. I mean, if I had all the money in the world, I would own everything. I would own all the old stuff. I just love baseball. Like, Dylan comes from a different side of things where he just wants the cardboard. He doesn't even need to watch the games. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
the love of the game, the love of growing up, going to the Astrodome with my dad. I mean, all those things, and then getting into collecting around 1990. That's what did it for me. So the nostalgia of the stuff that I collected, and I always wanted the rarer stuff. I mean, I don't poo-poo on anybody that has the 91 Fleer or whatever, but I always wanted the stuff that was tougher to pull. Or now that grading is a thing, of course, it's been a thing for a while now, but back then it wasn't. That also adds rarity to something that wasn't necessarily rare before. So I
Hmm.
always wanted that. Also, I'm just picky. I like nice cards. It's another reason I don't have a lot of vintage, because I can't buy the one I would want. Now you've gotten three recently that are super nice,
Yeah.
but you can't always have the copy that just looks amazing if you have that stuff. So the stuff that's nostalgic to me that I grew up with, or even stuff I discovered still, but was from that era of the players I love, but just no one's seen it, and I enjoy, like we said, just sharing that, because people are like, wow, that's cool. I didn't know that existed. I
Hmm.
love that kind of thing. But nostalgia is huge. But I love baseball, so I love it all. Just can't have it all.
Now, when you're watching a channel, because I know a lot of the people in the community that you like watching, you hang out with, text with, you chat with. A lot of us are predominantly vintage guys.
Yeah,
Do you watch predominantly vintage channels?
because most YouTube is. It
Do
just
you
is.
feel that way? Because
It,
I feel
unless
like the
unless you're talking about breakers and all of this kind of stuff. But I'm
yeah,
talking about the collector base. There's not a whole
okay,
lot of collectors out there just showing. I my wheelhouse is probably 80s, 90s, a little bit of 2000s, but there's not a whole lot of people showing really cool stuff from that era.
mhm,
But and I also don't think there's a need for another channel that shows a lot of vintage. I mean, everybody knows what a 59 tops Hank Aaron looks like.
right,
I don't need to share that. It's like,
right,
so I think, I stick to my niche for the most part, but I'll show anything. And I love telling stories. I'm going to be telling stories and showing memorabilia and things from my life. I love that. Like when you talk about yourself or your dad, and I mean, man, that stuff geeks me out more than anything. Just hearing
yeah,
hearing people's stories. I mean, obviously you being at the Tiger thing and the Jeter flip, and yeah, I love that. So telling
yeah,
stories and the stuff that people have been at, people that connected with their family over baseball. I mean, it's just doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's when I take my son to a ball game. That's what I'm thinking of. Now
yeah,
he may not even care where we're at,
yeah.
but it's just that's what I think of as, man, I still remember going to the dome with my dad and just all the memories, seeing Nolan Ryan live. Man, just that's the
Yeah.
best stuff.
Yeah, it really is, and uh, a lot of I think the nostalgia that I get when I collect older stuff is my because my dad got into cards, and
you're,
we'd
you're
go to.
spoiling you're spoiling one of my questions.
Oh, okay, well, I'll still go, but he we spent a lot of time at shows, and
Yeah, yeah,
I usually
that's
got
amazing.
I got through the shows faster than him. He was meticulous about going through boxes that the
Yeah,
dealers had
yeah,
and hunting for the best. Every common had to be freaking perfect. I mean,
dude, he was grading before everybody was grading.
he was. And then when grading happened and he
Oh,
sent everything in,
he cashed
it
in.
it confirmed that he had a good eye.
He had
And
the
then
eye.
and he did really well from that. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
like nobody
But
else.
I would get through the show faster than him because he was going through boxes, and then I had time to kill, and so I usually
Yeah,
killed time around where he was, and where he was in the section over on the side with all the vintage stuff, and
yeah,
so I ended up looking through a lot of those cases, and I'd see, the tobacco cards, and I'd see the ice cream cards and the caramel cards, and I was just like, "Whoa, like I'll never own anything like that."
no, no.
So it's a different type of nostalgia, I think.
It is. It's the historical side of things,
Yeah.
but I think it just, unless you have unlimited funds, you can't own everything. So you have to
Yeah.
kind of pick something. And of course, my collection's all over the place. So I can't be laser focused. I can't. There's certain things I see, I just want them.
Yeah. No, I get it. All right. Uh, so here's kind of on that theme. I had somebody ask me this question. I think it was it Josh, rated rookie? He asked me, "What's a rabbit hole that you're trying really hard to not fall down, but you just feel it kind of pulling you over?" Um, so is there a rabbit hole that you're kind of peeking over at and checking it out, and is there any collecting changes to your collection that you think are going to be happening soon, or
I
you
feel like
kind of
I feel like I've
yeah,
gone through every rabbit hole.
yeah.
I think I've been down all of them. But yeah, it's man, that's a really good question. As far as anticipating, I think that's the other thing. I can't ever plan it. You plan. I mean, look, watch the last couple of Dylan's videos. I mean, you come out and say you're going to do something, and then immediately some other thing happens, and you want to go down that trail. Now you've got him going down Yankees captain trail. So,
Well,
I
I
feel
don't.
like buying pirate cards all of a sudden. I mean, it's you never know where you're going to get an influence from. So
Yeah.
every time you plan something, it's like, well, then something else happens, and man, I kind of want to do that, and you can't do both. So then you switch tracks. So
Do you know how the pirate card thing started for me?
that's a good question. I
So
don't.
I was at a show. So my dad and I went to a show about a little over a year, maybe about a year ago in the Bay Area. And we were at a show in Concord, California. And a friend of mine texted me and he said, "Hey, are you coming over to the Hayward show?" And I was like, "I don't even know there was a Hayward show."
My dad's
He
from
goes, "Yeah."
Hayward.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
He's like, it's mostly vintage stuff. And I was like, well, we'll check it out. So after the Concord show, we drove over to the Hayward show, and there was like 12 tables, but they were all vintage. And I go up to there's a dealer when I walk in who I know and I'm friends with,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
talk for a little bit, and then I go to the next table, and it was this dude who was like, he had a real strong accent, like he was like Scottish or Irish or something,
Yeah.
and he had tons of tobacco cards, like tons of them. And I'm just going through them. Like, there's boxing. He had a lot of boxing stuff. He had some of like like animals and plants and flowers and stuff.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and then and I'm digging, and I just start picking his brain. And I sat there for like an hour and a half just asking him questions. And he's talking about, do you know why it's called the N series? Do you know why it's called the T series? And he's he's telling me all this stuff. And I finally went around the edge corner of his table, and he had this pirate card, and I was just like, "Man, that thing's beautiful. Like, that's a beautiful, can I look at it?" And I look at it, and I'm just like, "This thing is absolutely beautiful." He goes, he goes, "I'll sell it to you for $20." He goes,
What?
"I used to have a bunch of others, but," and it had some paper loss and stuff.
Do you
And I
remember
was
which
like,
one it was?
"Yeah, I could pull it out," but I ended up getting it graded.
Okay.
Um, and I was like, really? And I didn't know if it was worth 1,000 or if it was worth 0, but I didn't care. It was gorgeous. And I didn't know it. I
Yeah.
didn't comp it, nothing. I just, here's $20. I have to have this thing. And so I ended up spending more time at the guy's table, and he had a bunch of stuff that I should have bought. But I didn't. And that was his only pirate card though.
Yeah.
And so on
Yeah.
the way home, my dad drove that day. So on the way home, I was just Googling it and looking these up on eBay, and oh my gosh, these things are so gorgeous, and they're Allen and Ginter, and it was just like, I was hooked literally from the moment I saw them. I was like, these things are so
That's
beautiful.
that's it.
It's not that I'm in love with pirates. I'm in love with how amazingly beautiful those cards are. And
Exactly.
and then I just started having an eBay save search, and when they pop up, I started buying them, and then just off it went.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's
just like
it's
you,
just, that's how it works. So literally, sometimes the rabbit hole finds you.
it does. I mean, like I don't even watch that many show videos. I know you and a lot of people love watching people walk shows and stuff, but I was watching your show video and you flip past that Sherlock Holmes card.
Yeah,
I had to have it. It's like
tell that
that's not
story. Tell that
that's not
story while
base
I dig mine
that,
out.
that's not baseball at all. All I collect is baseball. But I'm a
Yeah.
huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and I'm obviously a huge card fan. So I saw, hey, there is cards of Sherlock Holmes, and it was already graded, and it looked nice, and it looked centered. And you were flipping through a stack of graded cards, and you say on film, hey, there's a Sherlock Holmes card. You kind of laughed, and you kept going. And then at the very end of the video, I think is when it was you showed the guy's information.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to contact this and find out what's going on. And it was even a little bit cheaper on his site than it was on eBay when he
Yeah.
put it on there. So, I don't know what it was at the show, but then when I got it, of course, sent you a picture of it, and you're like, dang, now I got to have one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful card.
It's a beautiful card, and there's actually a whole story to that, which is more than what you're just saying, because the next card that guy had was and his website is called T206 Cards.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
so he what enamored me is he had a box of like non-sport tobacco cards, and one of them was the Sherlock Holmes card, which I'm holding up now.
There it is.
And you ended up buying it, and then you sent me a picture of it, and you're like, I bought that Sherlock Holmes card. I go, what Sherlock Holmes card? And you go,
From
the
your
one
video.
from the video. And I was like, oh yeah. And I went back to the video and I re-looked at it, and I was like, yeah, I did. So then I liked it so much, I had a save search, and then whenever one would come up, you would text me and I would look it up, and then I missed out on a couple.
I think we
and then
missed
I got
one, right?
Yeah, we missed one. And then I got this one. Well, the reason I was enamored, or the reason I missed it, is because as I was flipping through at the show, the next card was this Captain Hook card.
Okay,
Because
that's
he had
right.
a whole box of non-sport
That's
cards.
right.
And I said, I just looked at this card over and over and over, and I go, oh my gosh, I think I'm about to buy a Captain Hook card.
You
from
said
like
that
the
on film.
1930s. I said that on film. I go, man, that one's up in my Mookie always teases me about all my terms, but that one's all up in the think tank, I think I said. And so about, I don't know, a month later, I get a package from Mookie, and it's not the exact one, but it's the Captain Hook card. I was so obsessed with the Captain Hook card that I overlooked the Sherlock Holmes card, and now I got both.
Hey, you got them both now, bud.
Yeah.
And 3 Grails now.
Yeah, and 3 Grails. It's been an interesting summer, to say the very least.
You were 0 for 30 years, and now you're 3 for 6 months.
3 months.
3 months.
It was June, July, August.
Oh,
June was the trade for the Brooks Robinson. July was the National, and I got the Banks. And then August, I got the gift. End of August, I got the gift.
3 straight 5s. Hey, 3 5s beat a royal flush in this case.
Yeah. Well, this case, it definitely does. Usually it doesn't, but
and they're killers.
Yeah, they're sweet cards, and I don't know, just happened.
Man, it's all good.
So how this goes. So we kind of meet you, talk to you a little bit, Brent. And again, if you're not subscribed to Brent Richards and Baseball Cards, do it. Good guy, obviously. Good friend of a lot of us in the community. I'm in a text group with you and Mookie and Shane, Shoebox Legends, and I know you're good buddies with Dylan, Double D, Vintage
good dudes,
Baseball
right?
Cards, and a bunch of other guys. And you're always in the chats, and that's a lot of fun. So check out his channel if you haven't. But what we do here is he then brings me 20 questions, and we see if I can answer them, because I was even talking to a friend on the way home from work today, and I was talking about the Short-Winded series, and I go,
really?
Yeah, I said I'm on my way home. I'm gonna record a Short-Winded, and I said I'm really struggling with the Short-Winded because, for me personally, just as a person, I'm way more interested in why people do things than what they do. So, like, if I say to someone, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" and they say, "I'm a firefighter," I'm oh, that's cool. why are you a
Why?
firefighter?
Why?
Not that I wouldn't. I mean, that was a job that I started down the path of, but I ended up not. That's a whole different story. But it it was like I am curious as to what the appeal was and what the rationale was, or what the reason was. So when people ask me questions, I want to explain why I have that belief, not just
Mhm.
what the belief is. So
Yeah.
it's I struggle with this, but I also know it's also kind of a tongue in cheek, like, let's see if we can get Greg to just shut up and say some answers instead of go into that. So I get it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it, but it really goes against
Dude,
like my character.
you asked a lot of questions as a kid, didn't you? There's no doubt. I
I
gotta
was
talk to your
actually
dad.
you can talk you will talk to my dad someday, but it no, I didn't. I was a really quiet kid. I was an observer. I would go places and I would watch. I wouldn't I wouldn't be the center of the event. My brother was a theater guy. He was a
Okay.
performer. He was a singer. He performed, in
Y'all
the
were
Broadway.
opposites.
He was in the Broadway tour of Les Mis, and everything was like a big grandiose celebration all the time. And I just kind of did my thing. And so I really wasn't, but I did like classes growing up on like, well, history. Why did World War One happen?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
did World War Two happen? How did we get to that point? You know, that kind of stuff. I'm intrigued by, and I think my collecting, to a certain extent, shows that in that a lot of the guys that I collect, I think, are people that I really admire. Like I
Me
really
too.
admire Yogi
Mhm.
Berra. I really admire Warren Spahn. I really admire Ernie Banks and Brooks Robinson,
I mean,
and
exactly. I love
yeah.
what Ryan and Ripken did on the field, but I mean, I think what Ryan and Ripken represent, other than that, is just that's what takes it over the top for me.
I wrote on it. Here's my Ripken story for the day. I rode on a plane. My dad and I were flying. I think we were flying home. I think from Cincinnati on a plane, and we're walking down through the first class section, and there's a gal who looks a lot like Ripken's wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Ripken, I think, had a son and a daughter, if I'm not mistaken, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were there too. And we were like, man, that looked like Ripken's wife. And the only reason we would have known is because it was right after the record breaking game and she was out on the field for the
Yes.
celebration and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
you got to see her. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known what she looked like. And my dad's like, I'm almost positive. And then when we didn't have cell phones at the time to like look stuff up. When we got back in town, I remember at the airport, I looked at the newspaper, and the Orioles were in town to play the A's. So she was clearly in there with. So I rode on the same plane with Mrs. Ripken.
And that
So
was
that's
during his heyday. That's
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, his
That's my
son
story.
his son Ryan Ripken has an awesome YouTube channel now. And of course, he mostly talks about the Orioles, but he looks so much like him. It's crazy.
Really, really.
Yeah, he's done playing baseball. He obviously didn't play like his dad, but it's incredible.
Hmm. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw 5 minutes on the clock. You are gonna zip through 20 questions. I'm hoping you don't pull a Chilson. I'm hoping you don't pull a Mookford and
Yes, yes.
go with the 7-part questions as one. But at the
That
same
was tough.
time,
That was
the
tough.
discretion is up to you. So I
I
do want you to know I really do want to be successful in this. So
I I thought about the different ways we could go with this, but I went down the middle. So you have a chance for sure. Now,
okay.
I did wear my Ryan jersey. Just
Congratulations.
for
He was a
just
very, very good pitcher.
just
He
because
was.
I was gonna wear Clemens, honestly, but I have several Clemens jerseys, but
I have a Clemens jersey in the closet. I have a Clemens jersey in the closet, and then I also have a Clemens jersey that isn't yet framed, but it's signed. So,
oh,
all right.
see,
So, 5 minutes on the clock. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Go ahead and go.
All right, I'm excluding Augusta and the old course at St. Andrews because it's too obvious. Course you want to play, but you haven't yet.
Mm, um, but I haven't yet.
Yep.
Dang it. Carnoustie.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, what's your foursome you would play there with? And they have to be alive today. We're not talking about going back in time or anything.
My mom, my dad, and my daughter Molly.
Okay, there you go. Of all the vintage cards in your collection, which one would you most like to be autographed?
Ooh. I don't. Would I most like to be autographed? My '84 Fleer Update Clemens
The
that
one.
I got. Yeah, the one I got. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Is it in fact the Mandela effect, or did Juan Gonzalez have a rated rookie?
I'm pretty sure he had a rated
He had.
rookie.
Okay. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to Mike. All right. The one piece of game used memorabilia from our lifetime that you would most want to own. So we're not talking about Babe Ruth, you know.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the bat of Jeter's last hit.
Ooh. It was a game winner, right?
It was a game winner. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was awesome. All right. If you chose a fake name for YouTube like all of your other friends, what would it be?
A fake name. Eddie. Eddie Relum. Tell
I
you
won't
why
even ask.
later. I'll tell you why later. Keep going. Keep
We'll
going.
keep going. All right. Most overrated YouTuber. No, I'm kidding. That's not real. Your favorite toy as a kid.
My basketball hoop in the front yard.
Okay. Okay. We kind of covered this earlier, but if not for your dad's influence growing up, do you think you would be as heavily into vintage cards?
No.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. Who do you hate more? Pedro, Piazza, or Nolan Ryan?
Oh, well, I don't hate Nolan Ryan at all. Piazza.
Okay. Okay. Oh man. All right. All right, here's the hard ball. After having you for a year, what do you think your students say about you?
Hmm. He's intense.
He's intense. Okay. All right. I can't wait to hear this one. Harder to spend a day without your phone or a day without speaking?
Phone.
Okay. Book or movie?
It depends, but book.
Oh,
I have to pick one book.
okay. Okay. Who do you wish was at the Cleveland National but wasn't?
Oh, this is so mean, dude. I mean, oh, that's so mean. I'm gonna say you.
Okay.
You.
That was self-serving, I admit, but I had to throw it in there.
Yeah.
Compound question. Do you have a nickname we don't know about and who says it?
When I was a kid, my nickname, I had a childhood friend who I grew up with, and my nickname from him was Dig, D-I-G.
D-I-G, okay.
hmm
There you go. Why isn't your logo 84 Clemens, Bird Magic, and Montana Rookies?
Because my logo was about, to me, the iconic card from each sport when I was collecting in the late 80s. And those to
So
me, late 80s, early 90s, right? That stretch, 88 to 93. What were the three cards that were like the big cards? I should have picked Jerry Rice instead of Barry Sanders, but it is what it is.
it is what it is. Blackbeard or Jack Sparrow?
Blackbeard.
Blackbeard. Blackbeard or Clemente?
Blackbeard.
Okay. Okay.
Theo just
Yank
threw his screen into the wall.
yeah. Yankee captains or pirate captains?
Yankee captains.
Okay. All right, good answer. Good answer. Do you watch your own videos after editing and posting?
Sometimes. A third of the time.
Okay. Okay. All right, last one. You're Nat Turner. You're Nat Turner. What's your first move / change?
Hire Peter Steinberg as CEO. Boom! Did it!
Dude, dude.
Did it!
Wait.
Boom!
I told you I
That was
wasn't
so
going to hurt you
close.
too bad. Oh man.
That was so close, and I love my last answer. I absolutely think I would have Peter be in charge of PSA and SGC. He'd be in charge of the whole grading part of the collector's company.
You were quick
Peter's
with
the
that.
real deal.
You were quick with that. I thought you might have to think about it for a
No,
minute.
that's an easy one. I thought that for a long time. Peter's the real deal.
Dude, you did it. So what are you
So
batting now?
where does that put me at? I'm at I think I'm at 4 for 8.
Oh man,
I
500.
think I mean I'm pretty sure that I'm at 500.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay. You're
Yeah,
Hall of
so I'm
Fame.
doing a little
You're
bit better than the White Sox this year.
I think you got Josh Gibson now. I think you're at the top.
Yeah, yeah, we'll leave that alone. That could go a lot of places. Now, you said you had a couple other things that you were thinking about throwing out there.
Yeah. Let's circle back to this one because you kind of covered it, but I wondered if you were the class clown or if you in school or if you were really shy. But you kind of answered that you were shy, but you seem like the guy that would be cracking a joke and making people laugh. But
So, well, first of all, both my parents were teachers. So I always had a lot of respect for my teachers, and I always didn't want to do anything to make their jobs more
yeah,
difficult.
yeah,
And I was I was a really good student. I could have been a better student, but I was a really good student. So for the first 16 years of my life, I would have been really, really quiet. But as I got older, I started to loosen up a little bit. And so junior, senior year, I definitely would crack a few jokes to my table or
yeah,
my,
exactly.
immediate area, but not outside of that. I
Yeah.
was always a guy who's within his little circle. And once I got comfortable,
Once you
then
got close.
yeah, then I was fine, but until then, I'm kind of just like feeling the situation out.
All right, to
Yeah.
piggyback on that though, like you were really shy. Obviously, no one believes you are now. When, and where did that kind of change?
Well, I am still shy, which is what's crazy.
But you're on
I
YouTube and you have friends, and
okay, so let me say, so I am still shy. I'm not like so I'll give you an example. Like Lucy last weekend had a soccer game.
yeah,
We go to the soccer game, and all parents see each other. Hey, how's it going? Hugs, handshakes, hanging out, talking. They're all hanging out here at the 40-yard line on the field, right? And I
okay.
just take my chair all the way to the end. I set it down by myself, and I sit by myself for the entire game. So I think there's a big difference between being able to be comfortable looking at a screen and talk to it and be in a social situation. So, like, I'll give you some examples. Like at the National, when I was with some of my close group, when I'm out to breakfast with Mookie and Darren, I'm myself. I'm comfortable. But then when I was at the YouTube event get together, I was pretty quiet. I just kind of stood back, and if people came up to me, cool. But
I
I
was going to
wasn't the
ask.
guy. Yeah, I
I was
wasn't
going to
up
ask.
there doing a bunch of stuff and talking into the mic, and like I was very quiet and standoffish. Not because I wasn't you know didn't like people. It's just because I'm uncomfortable. I would Theo, his house, the card story Matt had a
Mhm.
house, and there were a bunch of people hanging out there, and I went over there the first night. We played some cornhole. I
Yeah,
believe that
I believe
myself
you won.
and yeah, Mookie and I think you're right. I think we did win. But I was, other than goofing on Theo and Darren and Jason while we were playing, I was just kind of stand back a little bit. So it's people may not notice that, but like when I see Mookie come up to me at the National, I already knew him. Like we talk all the time, we text all the time, so I give him a hug, and it's like not awkward. It's like we're
That's
right off
different,
and rolling.
right?
But when I was in a group, I was definitely fairly standoffish. But I'm see how long winded I'm getting.
No,
But
this is
to,
fine. We're not timed.
to
You already
yeah
won.
yeah
You are.
yeah I am I am successful. I did win. I got comfortable on the computer during COVID. because I taught for a year staring at a screen, and I trained myself, and that's one of the things I think is interesting too, is like a lot of people who do YouTube videos, they struggle with looking at the screen instead of looking at themselves. A lot of it you can look, you're like, why aren't you looking at the camera?
Right,
It's
right,
weird. It's
right.
weird to look at the camera.
Yeah.
But I did it for a year. So when I'm doing a video and I'm talking to the camera, I'm looking in the camera, and
Yeah.
I'm looking in the camera because I did it for a long time. And a lot of people, it's uncomfortable to do that because it is kind of weird. But I
But
don't even think about it.
I'm seeing videos from other people of you at Ashisha's event, and you're there, and everybody's congregating around you, and you're smiling, laughing, talking. I mean, you're a sociable guy.
In
Everybody
small,
loves you, first of all, but
well, that's here. Come to work with me one day. I'll show you a bunch of people who may not feel that way. But I think that, yeah, in social settings, but at Ash's party that I attended, I wasn't table hopping. I went in with my dad. We got a seat. I sat down and I talked to the people that were right next to me. And then everybody went outside because we took a picture toward the end. And I went out for the picture, and I talked to my dad, Darren, my friend Maple, uh, Theo, Billy Ballgame, like the people who kind of came over to me. I talked, but it was in small groups. But I wasn't the guy who got up on the table and said, "Hey, I want to make an announcement, guys. This is really fun. I'm really glad we did it." Like, no way. So I know it's hard for people to believe because I get and I am an animated person. Like,
Sure.
there are times I have students that they'll kind of be like giggling as I'm teaching, and I'm like, what's up? And they're like, you're just funny. Like, you're getting so fired up, and all we're talking about is like the monthly payment formula. And I'm like, I know, but that's just kind of how I am. I
You're
use my
wired
hands. I just use my hands. There's a lot of Italian in the family, and that starts getting going. And
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Still learning stuff about you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that explains that. I on purpose didn't ask you in real life just so we could cover that here, because I know people are interested. For
About
sure.
what?
Just about you and
me
your
being shy?
personality. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't seem real. So
Yeah, it is though.
what I know you talked about the best, but what is the worst job you ever had?
This is crazy, but I've only had in my life like 5 jobs.
Wow.
So when I was 15, I got a job working at an outlet, like a factory outlet store, like
Yeah.
factory outlet malls.
Yeah.
And I sold. I worked at a store that sold like umbrella called Totes. It
Okay,
sold
yep,
like
yeah.
umbrellas and slippers and stuff. I worked there. And then in college, I worked at a golf course. I worked in the cart barn. So I did, getting the carts cleaned up, bringing them out, picking the driving range, all that kind of stuff. And then I didn't work my last couple years of college. And then after college, my first job, I was a waiter at Red Lobster. So that was my
But
third
you liked
job.
that one. You said you
That
liked
job
that.
was fun, dude.
Dude,
was
that
fun.
is an outgoing job.
Yeah, but I have to kind of I have to go into like a different personality. Like,
Okay.
you become a character.
Yeah.
You kind of become a character. And then I was a substitute teacher. And then I got a teaching job. So I've had 5 jobs in my life. But
So
I've had
not a whole
5
lot
jobs.
to pick from. Okay.
Yeah, so the worst one would have been probably, I feel bad saying this because my boss Diane was a really nice lady, but the factory outlet store would have been the worst.
That's
Selling slippers and umbrellas and stuff to people, it's not really that cool.
Not the funnest
No.
thing.
No.
All right, last time you got a traffic ticket.
So I got married in 2003.
Okay.
And I got married in November of 2003. And we didn't leave for our honeymoon until December of 2003 because
Okay.
we were teachers, and so we needed there to be some sort of break to overlap with. And so in December of 2003, I got a traffic ticket, and he said I was going 40 in a 25, and 100% wasn't, because before I turned, I was at a
Sure,
signal.
you were.
I was at a signal, and I turned, and I saw the cop across from me. So I'm driving down the street, and then I see the cop turn and follow me. And so I'm like, oh, there's a cop behind me. So I was driving like super careful because there was a cop behind me. Now
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
first say, I'm not a guy who speeds.
No.
I don't enjoy that. And
Yeah.
I was in two pretty serious car accidents when I was a teenager, where I was with a friend who was driving, that were pretty gnarly accidents.
That'll
And so
wake you up.
it took that out of me. So like I have no interest in that. So I'm driving, the cop pulls me over. I get my ticket, and the cop comes up to the window, he knocks on the window, he goes, "Do you have any weapons in the car?" That was his first question. I go, "I've never even been pulled over." And he goes, "Okay." So he gives me a ticket, and that was my one and only ticket. But
He didn't let you go.
No. I thinking back on it, I shouldn't have told him I'd never been pulled over, because then he's like definitely giving me a ticket. This guy's never even gotten a ticket, so he's not gonna be that pissed.
The same thing
So
happened to me. The same
shouldn't
thing
have done
happened.
that. So it was 2003, December of 2003, I got that ticket. So it's been 20 and a half years. And now I'm 100% going to get a ticket in the next month because you just asked me.
I know, but I thought you were going to answer something along the lines of never or 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
I think I was
Yeah.
pretty close. I think it was pretty close. Oh man. So we got to circle back to the nickname, Dig.
Okay. Yeah. I
What?
think he couldn't say Greg.
Okay. So it's
So
just
it was
as simple.
my parents had this couple friend that my dad worked with, and my brother was older, and then they had a son, and then my parents had me, and so we kind of grew up together for a few years. And I think that he couldn't say Greg, so he said Dig.
Okay.
The only other nickname that I really get much is, people call me. I had my little league coach for 2 years called me Gregor,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't really have. Well, a couple of my high school buddies that I'm still friends with, they call me Miller Time, but that's not really a nickname.
But
Yeah,
hey, it's a last name. It makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. So your fake Mookie / Petty style nickname that you said a minute ago.
Yeah.
You were going to explain what's going on with that.
Eddie Relum. So years and years ago, I wrote a couple. I was kind of like a silent activist, so I wrote a few letters to the editor back when that was a thing, when people read newspapers. And there were a couple of times I was like, I don't really want my name to be used. And my mom goes, well, just use the name Relum. And I said, why Relum? And she goes, because it's Miller backwards.
So Nomar kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Nomar thing instead of Ramon. So I always kind of in the back of my head had that. And and then Eddie, my middle name is Edward.
Oh, it is.
And
okay.
Yeah, so Eddie is always kind of like whenever I'm using a fake name, I'll say Eddie. And then it's after my grandpa. His name was Edward, and then my nephew, my brother's son, they named Edward, and we call him Eddie. So
See, that's
Eddie
perfect.
So
that's
Eddie
my
Relum.
grandpa. My grandpa's middle name was Taylor, and that's my middle name, and that's my son's name, and yeah.
Yeah, my grandpa's first name was Edward, and his middle name was Adam, but that's where I got Edward, and then my daughters, both of their middle names are mom's middle names. So Lucy's middle name is my mom's middle name, and then Molly's middle name is my mother-in-law's middle name.
Gotcha. Well, we cannot wrap up this without seeing what's in that package.
Oh yeah. So you sent me a gift.
So you know, if you watched my videos, and you know I like combo cards, and you know I like combo refractors.
Okay.
This is the best one right here.
Okay.
You
All
gotta,
right. So I'm gonna open this here on screen.
There are rules to this thing on the back of the flip.
Okay.
So there are rules to even getting this. Get
Well, it's gonna take me a second to cut it open.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had scissors at hand or not, but
No, I knew you said to save it, so I had scissors ready.
okay, good, yeah.
All right.
This card is
So,
awesome, guys. Trust me.
all right. Well, we'll describe it once it gets open. So it's in a made
Okay.
in China. It says made in China right there. All right. Let's see
That's
here.
custom, Greg. That's custom. Come on.
You got the blue tape. I like the blue tape. I'm a fan of the blue tape myself. I use it all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty good and removable.
Come on, dude. Come on, dude.
Dude, that's the best combo card ever.
Oh, what does it say?
Dude, the fact that exists.
There's rules on it. Before I
Yes.
show what the card is,
Show the
I'm
rules.
gonna read the rules and then I'll show the card. The rules say cannot send away or back,
Right.
cannot throw away,
Correct.
cannot burn or shred. And
Basically, you have to keep it.
Here's the card. It's got Mike Piazza and Pedro Martinez on it.
Dude.
On a Brent slab.
Dude, and they are with what teams are they with?
Oh boy, the Red Sox and the Mets.
I mean, you can't ask for a better card.
Dude.
It's the best combo refractor
freaking
ever.
Hate this card, dude. I hate it.
Just the fact that
so
it exists. Just the fact that it exists, you know I had to send it.
Oh, that's fantastic. There's my wife. This
Hey,
is
wife.
my friend Brent. You see?
What's
He
up?
can't see you though. You
Oh, I
gotta
can't
come on
see.
for a sec.
What's
Here's
up, Megan?
Megan.
What's happening?
Megan's only been on camera a couple of times. This is
I
Brent.
know. This
She
is
can't
an
hear-
honor right here.
She can't hear you because I'm in headphones, but he just said it's an honor to meet you.
Oh, you too.
And
Awesome.
so he lives in Houston. My buddy Brent, we're doing an episode, so you're about to make an appearance on the channel. Just
That's
so you
right.
know.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So this is Megan. We're trying to figure out why she likes me.
Greg married up. Greg married up for sure. so.
Definitely married up. Definitely married up. So, all right. Well,
21 years figured it out.
21 years. We've been together 21 and a half years, married for 20.
Man,
We got married on
You
the-
fooled her somehow.
I definitely fooled her. We got married on the 1-year anniversary of our first date.
Oh,
Yeah. So
sounds like something you would plan. It's right
I
on the
figured I
numbers.
should try to convince her before she figured it out. So I went through the whole process pretty darn fast.
All right, no clever ways to trash that card.
No, I won't. I love it. I love it in a disdainful way. Like
I can't
it's
even. Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's you're a very thoughtful gift giver. I will say
try.
that.
I try, but
You are.
just knowing that exists, knowing you is just the best.
And the fact that you said, "Hey, who do I hate more between those two and Nolan Ryan?" I just want to
Yeah.
clear the air on a couple of things. Let me just quickly clear the air on a couple of things.
You know,
I
had to
don't
say
hate
something.
Nolan Ryan. I don't hate him at all. I like Nolan Ryan. I
yes,
like Nolan
yeah.
Ryan, the guy. I like Nolan Ryan, the pitcher. I like the fact that he brought power to the mound. He really
Yeah.
took it to the next level.
He
In a
did.
lot of ways, the current power game can be traced almost to him. I mean,
I
he
know.
overpowered guys. The reason he was unhittable is he had a really good curveball.
Curve
and he
was killer.
overpowered people.
Nobody threw it that hard back then. I mean, they do now.
No,
but
yeah,
nobody
they do,
did.
but they didn't then. I mean, I
No.
remember as a kid having the Guinness Book of World Records and looking up the fastest ball ever thrown, and it was Nolan Ryan.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and
And that changeup, because he threw so hard, the changeup was so effective.
yeah, so and his mechanics. I remember seeing one of these videos, like it was like a 60 Minutes or something,
Yep.
and they were talking about why has he been so durable, and it was just they went through his mechanics, and basically like his mechanics are like perfect.
Yeah.
And because they're perfect, he puts the least amount of stress on his body. And
Yeah.
And so I like Nolan Ryan. That's never been the thing. It's
I know, but that's
just
what's funny is just teasing you about it.
I
That's-
know, but I do need people to understand.
They
It's
know. They know.
it's that he's a top 20 pitcher, but he's not a top 3 pitcher for me.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of people say so it's that I think he's overrated because some people think he's top 3 and I think he's top 20.
If
And
we
and
wouldn't have
iconic.
if we wouldn't have sucked so long though, I mean, like literally led the league in ERA with a 1 point something, and he went 8-16. We couldn't score 2 runs for him the whole year. I mean, it's just things like that drive me crazy. He would have 450 wins. The team stunk. I mean, he won
Yeah.
when he was a tiny kid, and then he never won again. So
Yeah.
it just stinks. But not everything can work out perfectly. Just like Clemens, 7 Cy Youngs versus 7 no hitters. It's funny that neither one of them got one of the other. It's
Yeah.
you
That is
can't figure this
interesting.
stuff. You can't figure this stuff.
Clemens was close on the no-hitter a couple of times. He had several 2 hits and
Yeah, but Ryan had 12 one hitters, so he almost had 19.
no, yeah, no,
He
yeah,
almost
yeah,
had 19.
yeah. I mean, it's like how Serena Williams changed women's tennis and really women's sports. Serena
Yeah.
Williams single-handedly did that, and that's basically what Nolan Ryan he
Well,
brought.
Tiger changed the power game with golf.
That's true. It's true. Now they overpower courses instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally different.
All right,
thing.
buddy. Well, if you have not yet been convinced that Brent's a good dude, I think that hopefully by now, if you're still listening, you are convinced. So, Brent Richards,
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you, my friend. Brent Richards
sir.
and Baseball Cards is his channel. Super creative name. And so check him out.
Easy to remember.
It is easy to remember. Well, actually, no, because Dylan was
couldn't
talking in
remember
a
it.
video yesterday, and he goes, "What's Brent's channel's name?"
I
can't
know.
remember what his channel's
I
called.
was laughing because I'm like, I specifically made it easy. But yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I love you, brother. I
love you
appreciate
too,
it.
bud. And thanks for coming on. And hey, I mean, the way I look at it is, we were a battery, and the battery was successful in getting the victory. So some people just like to make things difficult.
Some people,
And
yeah.
I appreciate that you're not that way.
I love you more than Mookie. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Maybe we could have an arm wrestling match and find out. All
All
right,
right,
dude.
man.
Thanks, bud.
Love you, man. Later.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.